I'm Ryan McKeen.
I'm Brittany Green.
And welcome to this special St. Patrick's Day episode of The Way.
Welcome to The Way with your best era hosts, Ryan McKeen and Brittany Green. The podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. Each week, we'll be discussing the latest trends, strategies, and insights that are shaping the legal industry. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
Yeah, I totally was unintentional when I put this green on today, but it must have been my intuition telling me.
I wore green intentionally. I was not a big fan of St. Patrick's Day until I went to Ireland. And the Irish people won my heart, being so kind, their food being so amazing. And I loved my 10 days in Ireland a lot.
I have heard Guinness is better there.
Guinness is way better in Ireland.
Yeah.
Way better. That is one of those things that is true. If you're in Ireland, have Guinness, go to the Guinness factory. Tour is fantastic. It is good. But we are not here talking about St. Patrick's Day because probably people are listening to this long after St. Patrick's Day. So we are here to talk about, we just got back from Charleston where we did an event for Unreasonable Hospitality.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. But I'm gonna go a little sideways here. So if you ever come to our office, I have a number of autograph books in this office, including autograph books from presidents, presidential nominees.
Most of them are here, actually. I think we moved some of them here.
Tons and tons of autograph books. There's a number of them on the shelf. And I had a copy of Unreasonable Hospitality. Will Guidara was not at our event, but Billy Peel and Lindsay Peckham from 11 Madison Park were. And so I have Unreasonable Hospitality, Lindsay's edition.
One of one.
One of one. One of one. Not signed by Will Guidara, signed by Lindsay Peckham. And Lindsay invites us to come down to New York City and hang out with her.
I am down anytime. They were amazing people, both of them. Both originally from Connecticut, too. So they're Connecticut natives like us. Amazing.
How odd is that?
I know.
All six of us who were talking down there were from Connecticut.
I know. I guess, I don't know, maybe Connecticut born and breeds unreasonably hospitable people. I'd have no idea.
Right. I mean, we're in Charleston, the city of hospitality, and here we are, a bunch of Yankees invading.
Not only those were from Connecticut, but our friends, the restaurateurs that we invited, and then who were so gracious to us with our meals. We'll have to talk about those in a sec. Kellyanne and Ryan are from Connecticut, too.
They are. So it was a war of state aggression.
Yeah.
What was the plaque? What did it say, Brittany?
Well, it was a war between the states.
War between the states, yes. So we went down and enjoyed a lot of hospitality. So when we booked our Unreasonable Hospitality workshop, we did through Vayner speakers, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And I couldn't pass up my chance because, we're spending a good amount of money with them. I was like, can you get me an autographed Gary V book? They
gotta shoot your shot.
Well, they said we'll think about it. And then I followed up shamelessly a month later. And then this Ryan Love Gary V autograph book shows up. And I am super excited because honestly, of all the business folks out there, Gary Vaynerchuk informed me more of building Connecticut Trial Firm than anybody else in terms of producing content, in terms of employee management. And I think really one of his critical insights was that when you're the boss, you work for the team.
Absolutely.
Right? So grateful to get this autograph book from Gary and happy to have it added to my collection. But we are not here to talk about my autograph book collection. We hope you come visit us because I will show you a bunch of them. We're here to talk about what made us so successful. And I think Billy and Lindsay put it into terms, and the phrase that they use is unreasonable hospitality. It's really what we did as a team in our law firm, and it's what we did with our community, with our clients, every single step of the way. It is how we won.
Yeah, we framed the whole event, Unreasonable Era, around that unreasonable hospitality isn't just what happens outside of the law firm to your potential clients. It's what happens in, every department, every aspect, so internally and externally.
Right. And so to break down like what we did, day one, we had the Unreasonable Hospitality workshop. So we had Billy Peel and Lindsay Peckham, and they were talking to us about, various topics, really working with clients, working with your team, bringing it all together. And on day two, we broke into workshop groups. You and I led one workshop. We were the front of the house for you restaurant people out there. And Allison and Marissa were back of the house, and we rotated. We had group A, group B. Morning was with us. Our first group went the afternoon to Allison and Marissa, and that was really fun. Like, that was a really good way to work it. But, it really does start. I think it all starts with taking care of your team.
It absolutely does. And I mean, I think, Lindsay mentioned at one point in day one where, daily huddles and team meetings were so, so important for them in building and creating and living that culture of being hospitable to your team. And especially because, they mentioned that basically they say, the people with all the authority usually have very little information, and the people with all the information don't have the authority. So when you are the leadership in your team and have the authority, you need to make sure that you are communicating with your team members from every spot, down from your, receptionist, your office admin, up to, your top ranking lawyer. Everyone deserves to have input in those meetings because everyone's coming at it with different perspectives.
Everybody does. And I think one of the things with Unreasonable Hospitality that is a key insight, and I think it's a really hard thing to do, but if you're out there and you're a law firm and you're an owner and you're trying to figure out how to invest in your team and how to invest in training, and you should be, the more investments you make in your team, the more money you're going to make, the better your life's going to be. That is the best ROI in anything. But it's sort of out of the box investment is letting your team experience 5-star service.
Yes.
And really, I would say, I've been fortunate in my life to have amazing meals, gone amazing places, stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, several different places, right? And really been experienced some really high level of what I would call service. But I'm going to actually think twice I've experienced what I would call unreasonable hospitality. One was when, and look, we do this for our subscription clients. If you're at a certain level, we send you down to Nobu in Cabo San Lucas. And it is just like magic.
It really is.
It is. I mean,
you walk into your hotel room after, being at the pool, and there's just treats that have appeared with not just a pillow on a mint on your pillow, but it's these amazingly artfully created dishes with stories behind them.
And you've got Stefano who just takes care of whatever it is that you need. And things just work in a way that is unbelievable. And it's seamless. And obviously the food and the service in the restaurants, oh my gosh, completely 5-star experience, right? And the second time was actually at Honeysuckle Rose down in Charleston, which, oh my God, go there.
Yes.
If you're in Connecticut and you're listening, fly breeze, cheap and easy. Yeah. Just go have dinner there for a night.
Yeah.
Unbelievable service. But, I was thinking about it, and you've been to Nobu, I've been to Nobu, Allison has, and we were at the table with Marissa.
Yeah.
And Marissa was oh my gosh.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it was so funny when she, opened. It's one of those places where you do a tasting menu, of course, to get the full experience. And there were personalized menus for each of us at our place settings. She opens it up. She says, "Oh, I don't know what I'm going to get. There's so many good things to choose from." I said, "Guess what? You don't have to choose. You get everything."
And the level of service, I think it was so incredible. I kept drinking water, and my water never went down, and I never saw anybody pour water.
Which is insane because that place was small, and the chairs were like this. They were this size, right? Armchairs. And we were all close together. There's not a lot of space between the tables. I don't know how they snuck in without bumping into things, and I did not see them once.
It was amazing.
It was.
It was very intentional, very creative, and very attentive, and absolutely amazing. So, yeah, okay, so you're out there and you're listening. You're oh, well, that's nice, Ryan. You're at Nobu, and you're eating at this banging place in Charleston. Awesome. But I think that there are other opportunities, which is if you want your team to experience 5-star service, you need to start with your application process. You need to put your salaries on your job applications, put your values, put what the job is, define the job, have an interview process that is respectful, and not just respectful in a way that the conversation is respectful, but respectful in a way that you're not wasting their time. You're telling them the truth. And I think the way we always approached interviews was we're trying to figure out if this is a fit. Right. And it's a fit for us and a fit for you. You may be amazing. We may think we're amazing. It may not work. What we're really trying to do is get to the bottom of whether or not we can work together or should. So in that interview process, following up even from an employer side saying like, okay, we're not going to hire you. Or also, following up with a note card, thanking them for interviewing with us. Like they've given the most precious gift of all, which is time and interest in that. Right. And then like, what is their first day? Like, and what is the gap between when you make them the offer, they accept, and the first day? And we would do things like send note cards. We would send swag boxes to them. We would try to keep that up of like, hey, I'm going to a place that cares about people, right? Because if the company cared about the people, then the people we were working with would care about their clients. Because sets an expectation.
Right. Yeah, it's setting expectations. Speaking of that, we would even go so far as to, as you said, we'd plan out usually their first 2 weeks worth of like a schedule, day by day, what the plan would be. When are you training here? When are you meeting with this person? And we do our best to send that out in advance even of their first day so that, it is always a nerve-wracking thing going to a new place, not knowing what your first day is going to look like because everyone's different, right? There's plenty of people that are introverted, especially that like a lot of preparation to know what's coming ahead for them. So being respectful of those all those personality types that would want as much knowledge going into their first day as possible.
And we would ask them their meal preferences. We'd always have a meal for them on the first day. We would try to go on their Instagram, print out a picture and frame it so it was on their desk. And one of the things, too, that I remember when I got my first job as a law clerk, the lawyer, he drew a handwritten map of the office and he just wrote the names of the people in the offices. But it was so kind because it's like you walk around the office and you're like, oh, Matt and Jim and Jake, and it just all blurs together.
Yeah.
But then you go back and you're like, oh, Jim's in this office. Yep. Peter's in that office. Like that was incredibly useful, but doing things like that. Then when they come in, we would try to have them come in about 9:30. Why 9:30? Because we generally got in between 8:30 and 9 and we wanted to be prepared for them. So we are like, it's not like they're here and we're like, what am I doing? Right. And then we would really try to spend at least several days really letting them train, not just throwing them into work, not just doing the thing, but here's how we're going to do it because we have expectations as to how this is going to go. And like really the whole thing was designed ultimately at its best to put them in a position where they could serve others and be successful at it by showing them what that felt like.
Absolutely. And I think when people hear about unreasonable hospitality, they immediately think that everything having to do with that is like grand gestures, right? And big or expensive or really thought out or just time consuming. But that's not true at all. So much of what's unreasonable hospitality is things that can be systematized, can be these very small, almost quiet actions that don't seem like a big deal to people that are already used to them. But when you've never experienced it, like if you've never experienced your water glass magically being refilled, you won't know until it's happened that it's a really cool thing, even though it is just such a small detail.
And one of the things we did in their training when we onboarded people was say one of their things that they had to complete was post a welcome message in Slack. Like, hi, I'm Pat and I'm here and I look forward to working with the team, whatever they wanted to say, but they had to post a message. And then our team would respond, welcome, Pat, we're so excited to have you. And it's like, that moment didn't cost anything. It wasn't over the top, but it was really sincere into like how responsive we were going to be and welcoming we were going to be to them. And we also explain things like dress code and hours and different policies that we thought were going to help them be more comfortable and ultimately successful. So yes, you don't have to send them to Nobu, though if you can, that's outstanding. But really think about, from the job ad forward, that process being a real opportunity. Because if you're, and also too, we would try to hire people from a service industry background. Mm-hmm. And it didn't necessarily have to be a restaurant, but people who were used to serving others in some way, because, you know, this is beyond this podcast, but as we talk about advances in technology and in AI in the legal space, we really feel like that is going to be a core function of the firms that are going to be very successful in the next 3, 5, 10 years, are firms that really serve their clients really well, and not just in a you wrote a good motion kind of way, but in a very human kind of way. So, you know, to me, very worthwhile investing in those things. And even, you know, we did simple things like we tried to have a Zoom call because we had a lot of people here in Glastonbury, but we had people from all over the world: South Africa, Mexico, Argentina, Minnesota, Alabama, all over the place. And what we would try to do is have a Zoom call with a full team to like, hey, I'm Antonio and I'm from Mexico City and I have 2 cats. Antonio had more than 2, but you know, to try to get a sense as to who people were and welcome them into a community.
Yeah, I mean, because Unreasonable Hospitality is everything about how you treat people, and that was one of our virtual assistants that we used. You know, whether or not that they were in theory core firm members, to us they were, and you know, whether we were using them from an outside service or not. If you were doing work for our firm, like you were part of our firm. And so no matter how far away you were, you know, South Africa, Argentina, we wanted to find ways to include you and make sure you felt like you were just as much a part of our team as the person, you know, sitting at the desk by Ryan. Like that was super important to us. So yeah, we did always include all of our team members virtually on our meetings. So we really did always have firm meetings on Zoom so that could happen.
And we would do things like Aspirational Hour, which was a women's luncheon. A lot of women on our team. A lot of women work in support roles in law firms. And one of the things that we would do, because we had a dispersed team, is we would send DoorDash gift cards. Mm-hmm. They couldn't be eating the nice, delicious bagel sandwiches that we were having, but hopefully there was someplace local that could deliver to them and they could feel a part. So it's just really about being thoughtful, and it's about prioritizing their basic needs, and a basic need of being able to feel like they belong, being able to feel like they're welcome. That really, I think, builds the groundwork for transformative client service in the legal space. Right,
because if your team is being treated well, they will know how to treat your clients well. So it's all reciprocal.
And you know, it's sort of really small things, which is just like, you know, we did things like we had their emergency contacts. So we had a private wiki called Tetra, and one of their onboarding tasks was like, we want your emergency contact, because we had cases where there were horrible workplace injuries, and that emergency contact list was very useful in that moment. We hope never to have used it. We never did, but we care that we have your spouse's number. So if something happens, we can reach you. By the way, we also have AED machines in all of our offices.
Yes. Yep. We put everyone through certification.
You know, God, we hope we never used it, but, you know, it was certainly possible. And we wanted to show like, no, we care. We're taking care of you. Connecticut has no law requiring them. They perhaps should be, but they can save lives without question. So it's like things like that you're reinforcing to folks, because one of the things that we talk about all the time is that every outbound communication is marketing. Mm-hmm. So every response email that you have to a client, every phone call that the client has, every CC of a pleading that they're reading is marketing. Every pleading that you file with a court is marketing. Every conversation you have with opposing counsel and adjuster, all of that is marketing, right? Because marketing is really the things that you put out, that you take internally and you put out into the world, right? And look, as you grow and scale a team, you really want to grow and scale hospitality. And you want them to recognize that, like, look, they're a part of something bigger. And, I can't be on the phone with every client or every intake we were doing, but I had to trust that our intake people were trained in a way that they were going to take care of the people who were calling and seeking our advice.
That's absolutely right. So, next time you're thinking about shooting off a quick flippant email to that, defense counsel, like, just know that everything that is coming out of your mouth via, like Ryan said, via email, text, phone call, it all reflects back to the firm and the values that you claim to uphold. So yeah, just be mindful of that. If you're having an off day, maybe leave that email or call for later on when you are able to meditate, clear your head, things like that. If you cannot deliver the right type of service to anybody that you're serving that day, regroup, maybe ask a colleague for some advice or reread something before you send it off to make sure the tone's right. Because, everything is a reflection on not just you and your work product, but the firm as a work product.
That's right. And it really starts with basically respecting everybody that you're dealing with and understanding that they're all going through things and not making things more difficult unnecessarily. So things like being clear on your scheduling, things like, making sure that when defense counsel comes that there's water for them and things like that. It doesn't take a lot, but it goes a long way. And I was thinking about this with the various things that we do with our clients. And you're going to be teaching a marketing course, which we can talk about. Can't go into all of it on this podcast, but the opportunities that you have to serve your clients and to really make their lives better, which is why, look, I've talked to, 10,000 lawyers in the course of 20 years of doing this. And the reason why most lawyers get into this is to try to help people. If they wanted just money, they go into finance. They really want to help people. And you are in a unique position when you're a lawyer to help people. It's, I think, the best part of the job. But when you build that connection and you build that trust, you really help make the legal process go better, because ultimately, no matter what law you are doing, you have to understand a problem, you have to process that problem, and you have to make a recommendation to the client. And usually it's significant, right? It can be, I'm going to jail or going to trial, or I'm going to risk my business, or I'm going to go through a divorce, I'm trying to protect my kids, or I'm leaving an estate plan for my kids. Like, there has to be that trust. And if you build it from the first call all the way through, clients are way more likely to take your advice and make it easy.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of Lindsay and Billy's lessons from day one, which was the power of the invitation. And so, from that first contact with a potential client, you're looking for that sort of signal from them. That's an invitation, sort of a silent invitation to allow yourself and your firm to invite yourselves in, to make yourselves personable to this person, that they're amenable to that, and to shift what amenable might mean to different people, right? Some people may want someone who's just stays very formal with them, is very cut and dry, or it's someone who wants you to speak with them at a casual level, right? Or come to them in a casual dress, things like that. And so it's all about picking up the right cues from people and meeting them where they're at, and just understanding the human condition, essentially, of what we're all looking for.
Right. And it's not blind gifting.
No.
It is listening. It is being present.
Right.
It is specialization of what it is that you're delivering to the person that makes them feel seen and heard. So, don't just listen to this podcast and go out and order swag boxes and send blankets to everybody with your giant logo on them. Like, that is, I guess it's better than not doing it, but it is not hospitality.
Right.
Like, it is like, If somebody's cold, you send them a blanket.
Exactly.
But think of those opportunities, make them one-off as best you can, empower your people to act in certain ways, to alert somebody on your team that, hey, somebody's going through something, can we send them something? Have a closet of ideas. They talked about this, Billy and Lindsay, like they had a lot of proposals that would go on. Look, we did personal injury, we had a lot of surgeries that would go on, and they would have Tiffany glasses ready in the office to give to them. And we had surgeries, we would send people Milk bar cookies.
Which is another funny connection that we'd never even really thought about. But Will Guidara's wife is the founder of Milk Bar Cookies, which is funny.
Because like when you're going through surgery and you're in pain and you've got all this stuff going on, like what better than like butter, sugar, and simple carbohydrates.
And those cookies, if you've never had them, you need to try to get some because they're very tasty. And I think the ultimate lesson that I loved from Lindsay and Billy and the book and what we tried to convey to the people that joined us is that I think a lot of people also just think there's like just the people that are born with this innate gift of being hospitable and being able to recognize these moments where, gifting and thoughtfulness can happen. But that's not true. Lindsay and Billy made it very clear that, again, if you're setting the right expectations, if you're providing the right training for your team, if you are instilling the right values of your firm to your team, it can become second nature to anyone to be hospitable.
It can be a note card. It could be a phone call. It could be just, how are you doing? I was thinking about you. And I'm not going to give away the example because you should read the book, but they talk about the hot dog.
Love the hot dog story.
And Lindsay and Billy talked about the hot dog story. I'm not going to talk about it here. But basically, it's an extraordinarily high level of hospitableness, hospitality.
Hospitality. That's the word.
Hospitality. It's a very high level of hospitableness.
There you go.
Hospitality. And, but how you can't do that all the time. Like you cannot do what they did all the time. And, I was thinking our highest level at the firm was when we had the cruise trial, we had very long matter. So I felt like I was in court every day for months, 6 weeks overall, but it was like 12 days of trial. It wasn't all that bad. But anyhow, we were there a lot. And the whole thing was 5 years in the making. And what we were going to have one of Mikey's best friends, or his best friend, who somebody's known from growing up, we told him he was going to testify. Mikey thought he was going to testify via video. And we flew him up, and he hadn't seen him since before his accident.
As a surprise. And Danny, his friend, got flown up, and it just I'll never forget the look on the client's face. But you can't fly everybody, and you can't make that happen all the time. But you certainly can send the note card, like you said.
Pick up the phone. Send
the milk bar cookie. I mean, like, again, I think there's no act too big or too small that makes someone feels great, and making someone else feel great makes you feel great. And
it's really like in today's world we're increasingly disconnected. All sorts of statistics about, we
don't go out as much as we used to connect with people.
Dinner parties, declining membership in churches and organizations and all of these things that like push us away from each other, despite the ability to connect more than ever. It's a very interesting time. And, you've been over in London, and it's like very big into pub culture. And it's like,
it was so cool.
A half pint and a meal, and everybody's just talking, and it's chill. Now in the United States, it's become DoorDash, Netflix, and edibles. People are staying home, which is different, but it opens the door to the ability to actually connect with people, because at the end of the day, it is about connection, and connection is what will win. And look, like when you're a lawyer, like that is the functional job of a lawyer. Like you have to connect with your client to get them to do what you need them to do. You have to connect with a judge or jury to persuade them that they should find in your favor. You have to do these things in this very human profession that we operate in. It is time and money well spent sort of figuring this process out and putting it at the center. I cannot recommend reading this book enough. I think it's a very, very quick read, very fun read as far as business books go, and it should get you thinking about how you're treating your clients, how you're treating your employees, and what that really means for your life and your bottom line. And I can tell you, it is so much fun when you are pulling those things off in general. It makes you feel good.
It definitely makes you feel good. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. So that was an awesome event. And we are in the process of thinking about our next event.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give more ideas. We're going to give more lead time, but we're thinking in the fall. And like everything we do, we want it to be better than what we just did. So stay.
Yeah, we have a lot to live up to. One of our attendees, after experiencing, we didn't mention this, I think, but we talked about Honeysuckle Rose, a amazing restaurant. They're one of their sister restaurants, Southbound. Also highly recommend if you're in Charleston and can't make it to Honeysuckle. Southbound was also amazing. And so anyways, we had our event dinner we hosted there. Again, 5-star service, just impeccable. They let us use the whole restaurant. They were closed on a Monday, so they invited us in. So one of the attendees after the event, some feedback, said, I don't know how you're going to top your next event because that dinner at Southbound was just out of this world. So you kind of have a high bar you just set for yourself for your next event to find something just as good. So yeah, we've got a lot to live up to here, but we're gonna try to make it happen.
Challenge accepted, Brittany. We're gonna rise to it. But that we'll get more on that as we get closer. We've got some pretty good ideas. But like lots of things, it takes time to come together, but not before the fall, certainly, because we have other work. We have our annual meeting coming up in our quarterly meeting. Yeah. Coming up in 2 weeks. In fact, I've got to go send emails to our clients to be like, hey, let's get your quarterlies done. But we have our quarterly meeting coming up, and we have some big goals because look, we are still a small team. And all of our events, by the way, what we decided are they're going to be intimate and elevated. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to have a massive conference. We're not going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're not going to have fireworks. We're not going to be in Vegas. I mean, we could be in Vegas. There's some good restaurants in Vegas, but it's going to be a small, personalized, elevated experience for our guests. That's what we think is most fun for us and also most valuable for our guests as well. And it's also a complete experience. So we're not selling you anything.
No.
Our vendors there are not selling you anything. Our vendors are participants in the event itself. So that's a whole lot of fun. But we have one of our big quarterly milestones, all of us, was actually expanding what it is that we're able to offer to folks because we're pretty full. We've got a little bit more room for some consulting clients that we can take on as subscriptions. We've got some room for, doing our intensives that we do, but we're getting busy with all that stuff, right? And our goal is to not necessarily expand our team to be 50 people or anything like that. Our goal is to service 12,500 lawyers before 2030.
Yeah.
Or legal professionals. And so we are going to be, very excitingly, announcing some online courses in the near future.
Yeah, we hope to make them accessible, affordable, because I know that's what we've noticed with many online courses that are out there, that the entry point can be a little inaccessible for some law firms out there. And again, our goal is to help as many people as possible with our knowledge and our value and what we can add to other people. So yeah, our goal is sort of make it accessible, also make them not just geared toward the law firm owner, right? We are gearing things towards other people within law firms that can take these courses and use them to further the law firm successes. So, I have my marketing course that can be geared towards, if you are solo, it can be for that law firm owner. But if you're a little bigger and you have a marketing person on your team, absolutely have them be the one taking that course, because I think they'll find and get the most value out of it, because they're the ones that are going to be able to use everything I teach and grow your law firm's marketing with similar success that we had in ours.
And that's a really big insight. And it was one of the most powerful drivers of our success, because you didn't come to us as a marketing major. No. You didn't come to us as a marketing background. You, in fact, worked in a service industry after teaching. So one of the things that we did as a firm, right, I did as your boss, was hey, you've got to come to this conference. You've got to hear this person. You've got to come to this mastermind. You've got to get into this room. You know, I would do things like drop books off like this on Brittany's desk to read or listen to, you know, lunch hour legal marketing, or engage in the content in a way, because one level is me listening and engaging, but I then have to teach and explain it when there's a million different burdens on my time. And also, like, Brittany's going to hear and see and learn things, you know, from the source that are going to be better than I could secondhand teach them. So that's a big belief in us helping build stronger, better law firms, which is, yes, there needs to be things targeted to the owners, and we are doing that, and we will do that, but also things in your ops people, things for your finance people, things for your marketing people, for your paralegals, for your junior lawyers. I mean, like, all of these things are, I think, real opportunities for firms to grow and succeed. And we're stepping into that space. You're doing marketing. I'm doing a course on personal injury, which I'm very excited about doing. I know Allison's doing one on operations, and Marissa's doing one on paralegal training. So, you know, we're really excited about these offerings. So be on the lookout for those. A combination of recorded lectures, live interactions, feedback, courses, tests, materials. Like, we're going to put a lot of value into these courses. And our goal is to have them help as many people as possible at a very reasonable price point. One of our internal goals is to always deliver 10 times more value than anybody we spend. And I think we live up to that. And I think anybody who's worked with us would feel that way as well. So our goal is to deliver lots and lots of value to anybody who's in our orbit. And, I think one of the things, like, we were presenting at a mastermind in Charleston before our event.
Oh man, I forgot all about that. That feels like so long ago, and it was only like a week ago.
It does. We're presenting with Charlie Mann and his Genesis Mastermind, and check out Charlie's podcast. They don't teach us in law school. Charlie's fantastic guy, fantastic group. But one of the things we were brought in to speak about was the sort of spectrum of marketing, because we went from no money to having money to, $100,000 a month budget, and to being on over the top radio, TV, all of these things and everything in between. So we were, one of the best moments for me at the conference was just a side conversation. We'd worked with a firm in August when we were just getting started, who really trusted us to come in because they were struggling to generate the cases. A fantastic lawyer who cares so much about his clients, who is very skilled at what he's done. Gone to trial lawyers college out in Jerry Spence, and just, but the market realities of people spending millions and millions of dollars into markets and cases drying up, and how do you sort of navigate this, right? We were talking to this person at the conference, and they said, look, I signed 5 cases in the last 2 weeks. And it was really us working with them, developing a strategy, and them implementing that strategy. And so as I think about us and I think about your marketing, it's really like not just like we're doing marketing for you. No, like that's like the whole parable about teaching a person to fish. Like, we're teaching you how to market.
Right. Exactly.
And that's sustainable, and it's not monthly bill for you. It is like, here are the ideas that we know are going to move the needle, tailored to you. And in fact, with that firm, we were like, cut this, cut that, focus here, push this lever. We pulled a lot of bag of tricks, a lot of tricks out there to save them money, and offered some very, I guess, old school advice, like pick up the phone and call former clients.
Right. Ask for reviews.
Ask for reviews. But I think it was not just the advice, it was the focusing and the confidence and the faith to proceed down that path. And to see them seeing results like that in a few months is incredible. And I'm not going to lie, one of our goals with like our $1 a day Slack community is that like we will build clients. There are firms in there not ready for us.
Right.
They cannot afford us. They can afford $1 a day, but they cannot afford our services, which is fine. We put our prices on our website, so you don't have to guess or anything like that. They can't afford it. And our hope is to actually grow clients by giving them webinars on our Slack community. Jason Hennessy said, I give out $100 bills every day in our link of the day program.
Yep.
So we're trying to help build up firms. We're creating our own demand in a fun way. And to me, that's awesome. And we've got now it's 260 some odd people.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a big community and just such amazing, amazing people in there that just truly want to help each other and help each person find their own success.
Yeah. Got anything more, Brittany?
No, what are you reading, watching, listening to?
You go first, because
okay.
I'm really going to think of the name of the book, because I read it on Kindle.
Oh, yeah. You told me about it.
It's Lost Man's Lane by Scott Carson.
Okay.
I think. Lost Man's Lane, I can tell you. It is fantastic. It is fiction, a thriller, a coming-of-age novel, and it also, takes place in 1999, so it, harkens back to, getting in the car and Korn being on the radio and Nas and and I'm like, oh, I live this, I get this. And evidently it's got this supernatural take on it. So I'm excited about that. Stephen King raved about the book, and I love Stephen King as a fiction writer. And this is really good.
Yeah, I'll have to add that to my TBR. Let's see. Well, so I know I'm late to the game on this one, but my husband and I finally just started watching White Lotus, season 1. I know the newest season 3 is out right now, but we hadn't ever started it, so we're finally jumping on the bandwagon, and it's good so far. Yeah, we're almost done with season 1, and you have to make if you are, I don't know, living under a rock and don't have a premise of what White Lotus is.
I have no idea.
It's a dark comedy. So you have to know about that, know that that's it going in, because otherwise you're sort of going to be what the heck is going on? I don't understand, what the vibe is here.
Who's the big star in that?
There's quite a few. Well, so season 1, because I forget, I think there's new ones that are introduced each season, but season 1 starts out with Jennifer Coolidge, Connie Britton, Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, there we go. That's where she's famous from.
Yeah, so there's quite a few good names in there, and like I said, I think they add other big names throughout the seasons as well. But basically, it's a bunch of rich people at a 5-star resort.
Yes.
I don't want to give away anything going on, because it's not the Nobu experience that we just talked about earlier in this episode. It's as I said, it's a dark comedy. So it takes turns. But yeah, I like it so far.
You know what else I did? I watched the first 2 episodes of The Bear this weekend.
Oh, wait, had you never watched The Bear?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So The Bear.
Yeah.
To bring things full circle, is the book based, I think Will Guidara gets writing credit on it.
Yeah, he's the executive producer. Yeah. And when we harkened back to the hot dog story, as we referenced, that's in the book, if you've only ever watched The Bear and haven't read the book, it's the Chicago deep dish story. Yes. So if you know what I'm talking about, the Chicago's deep dish episode, I think it's the Forks episode, which you probably haven't gotten to yet.
I think the deep dish episode is episode 1.
No,
that was the one that they played.
That's the one they played, which I think is the Forks episode.
I haven't seen the Forks episode.
It's a great episode.
So I'm still when they're in this old school divey restaurant that has no money.
Yeah, the grinders and stuff. Yeah. So you've got some good stuff out of you. Season 1 is hands down the best season. It's just amazing. So you'll enjoy it.
I'll get through that by July. But I feel that's one of those things where I have a long plane flight. I'll just download the whole thing. And just plow through it.
Yeah, and the episodes aren't too long or anything, so
awesome. Well, till next time, thank you so much.
See you later.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Way with Best Era. Be sure to visit our website, bestera.io. From there, get more resources, insights, and to connect with us directly. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. That way you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep striving for your version of success.